Welcome back to Hear Me Out. I'm Dee.
I'm E.
And today's video is our recap of the first part of season 3 of Bridgerton, which we're very excited that it is back. We found an article from Yahoo just discussing a little bit about part 1 and also a cliffhanger. So if you have not watched part 1, you may want to come back to this episode a little later because it's completely filled with spoilers for part 1.
But you should just listen to us, just so you know what you're expecting. What?
It's like spoilers.
Yeah, you're right. But watch us anyway, you guys. All right. So like Dee said, this is a Yahoo article. The title is Bridgerton Season 3 Cliffhanger Leaves Fans Wanting More. Question mark? Expect part 2 to be a steadily rising arrow of tension, showrunners say. So again, warning, there's spoilers for season 1. So decide, are you listening or not? All right. 3, 2, 1. All right. It was years in the making. Bridgerton's Penelope Featherington and Colin Bridgerton finally crossed the threshold from platonic friends to passionate lovers at the end of season 3's jam-packed first half. The closing minutes are about as romantic as it gets. Though in classic Bridgerton fashion, the final episode of part 1 ends in a cliffhanger. It's nice for people to be able to have some time to regroup after the first 4 episodes and also to savor the season, Bridgerton showrunner Jess Brownell told Yahoo Entertainment. There's definitely a little bit of organized chaos at the end of episode 4, so people might need a little break after that. I did need a little more. Suitor, Lord Debling, takes himself out of marriage contention due to her affections lying elsewhere. She tearfully races out of the ball and heads home in her carriage. Very Cinderella, huh?
Right.
By this point, Colin has realized his feelings for her, stops the carriage, and joins Penelope for a heart-to-heart conversation. Colin confesses he's deeply in love with Penelope, which leads to her expressing that she wants to be more than friends. Things heat up quickly, leading to a steamy scene in the carriage, which is considered one of the couple's spiciest moments from author Julia Quinn's book, Romancing Mr. Bridgerton. When the carriage abruptly stops in front of the Bridgerton house, Colin stuns Penelope with a sudden proposal. For God's sake, Penelope Featherington, are you going to marry me or not? Talk about romance, huh? How's that for a cliffhanger? It's really important for us to have Colin's feelings for Penelope start to develop before Lord Debling came into the scene, which is why Debling doesn't become a bigger character until episode 3, Brownell said. However, his appearance does put a time clock on things for Colin to figure out the feelings that he already has been developing. She considers the first kiss in episode 2 as a turning point for Colin to begin to face the feelings he's been having for a while. The first kiss is a moment where his feelings become more recognizably different to him, Brownell said. If you look at the story, the seeds of his feelings changing are planted in him, realizing that Pen is upset at him because Colin often takes Pen for granted. See, it always happens, guys. Okay, back to the when suddenly she might not be there anymore, subconsciously he's going, I don't like that. I like having her in my life. He might not be in touch with what those feelings are, but that's the moment deep down where he realized I care for this person. The palpable tension in the build-up to Penelope and Colin's carriage caress was surprisingly inspired by HBO's Euphoria. If you watch Euphoria, leave it in the comments. When we were planning episode 4 and everything leading up to the carriage scene, I was rewatching season 1 of Euphoria. There's an episode that's set almost entirely at the carnival, and the tensions in that episode rises incrementally. There's this soundtrack that ramps up piece by piece and makes you feel all this anxiety, Brownell explained. I was listening to the soundtrack on repeat when we were crafting this section of this episode, and I love the feeling that things just kept getting crazier and crazier, and the dance set piece was a great way to emphasize that. Brownell's objective for the viewers was to feel that buildup. You have Penn dancing with Debling, Lord
Mm,
Debling, which I really liked.
mhm.
And all of a sudden, here comes Colin, and there comes Cressida. And building and building, she explained. It's very much intentionally chaotic, leading to its final moments where Colin admits his feelings. Brownell said that she was excited and optimistic writing Penelope and Colin's swoon worthy carriage encounter, mainly because Nicola and Luke, as actors and as people, have a great friendship, and so much of this story and the season is about love that's based on friendship. It was thrilling to write a different kind of scene, a scene in which there's a real tender openness and depth. She continued. There's laughter. We don't often see a laughter in one of them scenes on
Mm,
television, and I think there's a real beauty in that. In the book, Colin's marriage proposal comes after he learns Penelope is Lady Whistledown. At
mm.
this point in the series, only Eloise is aware of Penelope's secret. We felt like we've already played to the story of the queen hunting down Whistledown for 2 seasons, and we felt like we needed a rest from that storyline a bit. Brownell said in the switch up. That will become a bigger threat in the back half. Do we have
Oh,
thoughts
okay.
so far or continue?
A lot of thoughts, but continue.
All right.
Continue.
When part two drops on June 13, Poland, as fans affectionately refer to the couple, will be in their honeymoon phase. With Penelope's Lady Whistledown secret looming over their heads, it will likely create romantic turmoil when Colin does eventually discover the secret. Narratively, it was really useful for us because it is a giant secret that's hanging over the new romantic pairing. But what allows us to do this in the back half, as viewers will see, is spend more time in the love bubble between Colin and Penelope. In the past seasons, we'd had to create direct conflict between the couple, but we didn't have to do much of that this season because as soon as the secret lands, it's going to upend everything. The
Mm.
last 4 episodes of the season promise to be even more dramatic. The back half is really an upside down world of front half. Brownell tease, hinting that there's plenty of plot to still cover. If the front half is a rom com and lightness, playfulness, and awkward banter, the back half is a steady rising arrow of tension. That little bit of chaos that you see in the back end of season 4, it keeps ramping up till the second half, she said. So, part two is streaming on June 13th, so we have time to catch up if you haven't already done so. What do we think?
So, okay, what did I think? Oh man, I had a lot of thoughts. I have a lot of thoughts. Okay. So, my very initial thought from when I saw it, it felt like everything happened too fast, right? Like, you're proposing? What? But then I thought, okay, this has been building since season 1, right? We know that Penelope feels a way about him. We know that every summer or whenever it is that Colin goes on his worldwide travels, they exchange letters, they exchange correspondence, right? There is a genuine friendship between them outside of the friendship that Penelope has with Eloise. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that now it makes a little bit more sense to me a couple of days removed from having seen all of the first part. Penelope and Colin kind of already getting engaged, like it makes some sense. I will get to my thoughts on the carriage scene in a little bit, but before that, I did like Lord Devlin. However, he was not going to work for Penelope. He was not going to work for Penelope because he was not in love with her and he was not looking for love. He just wanted somebody to basically maintain his household. Like he was going to be traveling, leaving for 3 years. Like, I don't know, that's a little bit weird. Let's say they got married and they produced an heir. He'd be gone for 3 years and she'd be a single mom essentially, just tending to his house and his child. So in the grand scheme of things, I didn't want that for Penelope. Like, especially once she was able to get him to admit that like he didn't think love would really grow or that it didn't really matter, I guess in a way to him. Um So that was unfortunate because I like Lord Devlin. He was actually pretty, like decent. Um and so then my other thought, I hate the fact that Eloise and Penelope are beefing. There's too many beefs going on in the world, and Penelope and Eloise need to get back together because this ain't it. And Eloise and Cressida ain't it. And I'm surprised that the article failed to mention Francesca because I really liked her character.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she was a very different sort of Bridgerton. I liked how she seemed to be very hyper focused on the one thing she liked, which is the pianoforte. I liked that she enjoyed a quietness and that when she met um John Sterling, who I believe is an earl, they were both able to connect in a different sort of way compared to her siblings, right? Anthony was a like love-hate situation. Daphne was like, oh, they're just like trying to be friendly, but then it turns into love kind of thing, and it was just all over the place. And then now we see Colin and Penelope with the slow burn. So it was interesting that for Francesca, it seemed like it was just very like mitigated, like just kind of just not as hectic. And it was something really nice about like their peacefulness around one another. I enjoyed that. And I've already been spoiled about what happens in the book, so I hate spoilers, by the way. Um but yeah, so overall, I did like the season. The Featherington sisters are hilarious. I don't even I don't even know what to say about them. The tiny bit of scenes we got with Anthony and Kate, loved it. I mean, they're gorgeous. And yeah, what did you think?
In true E fashion, I have to disagree.
Of course you do. Gosh.
I there was just too much going on here. I feel like season 1 and 2 were really focused on the Bridgerton, like a specific Bridgerton. So we had season 1, which was Daphne and Simon Hastings, and
Mm-hmm.
that should have just extended for like 50 seasons at
Oh
that.
my
But
gosh.
they season kind of primarily focused on Anthony and Kate. You know,
Yeah.
Edwina was there being Edwina, whatever.
Oh my
But
gosh.
season 3 seems like they're just throwing a whole bunch of things or like different little plots at you. And Colin
Mhm.
and Penelope don't seem like the central figures to me. I We have a lot of things going on. One, we have Penelope and the Eloise saga that they're frenemies. They're not friends anymore, but could they be friends? I don't know. We see in the second half, Eloise is going to give her an
Ultimatum.
ultimatum. An
Mm-hmm.
ultimatum. You tell Colin or I will. So we already see that tension going. We see Francesca and the mute guy, the mute Earl,
John Sterling.
Ron Sterling, fine. I really like them, but that the season started with her premiering into society. So I
Yeah.
was a little confused about that because all the promotions have been about Penelope and Colin. So I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't really like kind of expecting that. So we have
Yeah.
that storyline going as well. We have the Colin and Penelope storyline as well. We have this Violet Bridgerton, which is the mom, and this
Mm-hmm.
possible new romance. Not much was discussed, but
Yeah.
that's already brewing. We have Benedict and that older lady,
Hmm.
the cougar. We have
Okay.
that. We have that going on, and I think we
Mm-hmm.
have something else going on, and I can't remember. But I feel like everything seems kind of big. It's a lot going on, and it's not
Yeah.
really, to me, very focused on Penelope and Colin. It seems like they're trying to set it up for all these universes to expand. Oh, and there's also the bar guy, the new Earl that has to
Oh,
give up the thing, the bar.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, his son is now a lord, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
So then we see that little portion of it as well. So I think
Mm-hmm.
it's just a lot of noise. It doesn't. I don't feel like I'm fully into Penelope and Colin. You get me?
Okay, I can see that. Yeah, yeah, I can see
So
that.
I didn't like
Um,
that. If a lot of things were going on at the same time. Um, I'm still excited to see Benedict do his thing. I love this cougar lady for him. Like, I'm like, can they just get married? Colin, they really like hyped him up to be this stud. And I was like, okay, he's getting cute. Like he had a little glow up, but then they did the most with the least.
okay.
Colin is not believable in, there's a certain scene where he's with two ladies, that leaves a lot to the imagination. It's not believable. He's kissing them and I'm like, I'm cringing. I'm like, one of my friends at work was like, they airbrushed hair on his chest. I'm like, he's not, he's like pubescent. I'm like, I don't think he has any kind of, sex appeal or anything. I feel like he's a kid
Yeah.
compared to a Penelope, which, disclaimer, she's 37 playing a 19-year-old, but you can still see the level of maturity in her
Mhm.
compared to Colin. So I think they're like a mismatch. It's not giving romance to me. It's not giving the Anthony Kate effect or the Daphne Simon effect. It's giving like two little kids being awkward. And on top of that, Penelope wanted this romance thing. How romantic are you going to marry me or not? Like, how romantic is that?
Oh my God. Okay,
I'm done.
continue.
No, no, I'm done for now. I'm expecting a lot more, but I hope they like slow down a little bit.
But that's the thing. Colin and Penelope have been a slow burn since season one. We've seen
Mhm.
many interactions with Penelope and Colin since season one. So I think that is probably why it feels as though there should have been more of an emphasis on them in this season, their season. But maybe the second half will kind of dive into that a little bit more because I feel like the point with them may not necessarily be fully about them getting together. It may be the fact that Penelope's Lady Whistledown. And I think that may play a bigger role in their relationship versus the fact that Colin finally figured out he's in love with her. I mean, I feel like that was going to be like a no brainer, but how he's
Yeah,
going to react to her being Lady Whistledown, I think would be a little bit more complicated. And that may bring them more to the forefront. That may make them more central to the
yeah.
season.
Hmm.
But I can see, what you mean and how it comes off that way. Now the carriage scene. Okay, so at first
Disaster.
I was a little confused because I was like, whoa, Penelope, you just had your first kiss like a couple weeks ago. Ma'am, you are going like, oh, no shame. I'm not trying to judge you. Do you?
Yeah.
But, I was just like, I was shocked. I was pretty shocked because I thought for sure they were going to get it on in the carriage. I mean, they did in some ways. But, um, I have questions. So, very first question. How is it that Penelope seems to always be alone in her carriage rides? Aren't these young ladies supposed to be chaperoned everywhere? But Penelope, for some reason, nobody ever cares. Se va sola, like she goes alone all the time by herself, nobody cares. Colin was able to get into her carriage without anybody thinking or saying a word. Granted, nobody was around, but her carriage drivers, riders, whatever they're called back then, still, it was weird. It was odd. Um, and the declaration of love, I found it to be sweet. I know that like it was a little bit weird, but I did find it to be sweet because I think that ultimately like what they were supposed to convey, right? Because of the characters we've seen in season 1 and 2 is this very like frenetic just just chaos sort of situation where it's like she was so desperate to try and find a husband because she's desperate to leave her home that she was willing to settle for somebody that was not in love with her. She was willing to settle for not having love just to be able to have whatever that was. Um Despite her feelings for Colin, but she never in a million years would have expected Colin to feel anything for her. And yet here he is trying to sabotage her potential marriage proposal and then successfully does sabotage it. And then he professes his love for her, and it's like it's shocking for her. Like I can understand that. Like imagine being like a teenager and you think that like this boy that you've had the longest crush on will never notice you in this way, and then all of a sudden he does. I feel like my reaction would be to laugh. What? Like
I know it
none of
was
it.
very. You got to be kidding me, right?
Yes, exactly. Like so I kind of saw it from that lens of like this has been going on for so long, and Penelope has felt like her feelings are have just been one-sided. To hear this man tell you that he loves you, and then not just that, but that he's been dreaming about you, and that he it's been torture, but that he accepts and wants the torture just so that he can at least have his time with you. I was like, oh, okay, Colin, all right, I get it, I see it. It's getting there for me. And it just, I thought, because of Penelope just seeming so confused, like, is this real? Is this really happening?
Yeah.
Like I liked that that all came off as just very chaotic, because it is chaotic. This was all crazy. And then we get to the steamy part. It may not have been steamy to you, but I thought it was rather steamy. I was like, whoa, do y'all need a moment? Like, I don't think I should be watching right now. If it's very intimate. And then he did something that I was just like, whoa. When he pulled up her dress, but the way he pulled up her dress, only using certain fingers, I almost fell out my chair like, Colin, sir, what? And then I heard that this was all the actor Luke's doing. This was not a direction from anybody. He did that. Why would he only utilize those fingers to pull up her dress? Think about it, ma'am. I thought that was like, whoa, very interesting choice there. So, and then Penelope, given that she's fully in love with this man, and just, I think she's just so confused by everything. I think everything is just seeming so surreal to her, that when he like is trying to get her to come home with him, and then just tells her like, I'm gonna marry you. Hello, duh. Like, I kind of understood it. I know it came off like a rush kind of thing, but eventually like I kind of got it. Like, okay, yeah, of course he's gonna marry you. He just literally like he just did something that in Regency era would be frowned upon
Hmm.
for an unwed, woman to do.
Yeah.
And yet he was like, girl, we're getting married. Like, it's all good. Let's go. So yeah, that was something that I thought.
A coworker of mine told me that the carriage was actually soundproof. So when the director yelled cut,
Oh
they were
yeah.
going at it. And I was like,
Uh-huh.
oh, okay. So they were really into it, but not into it for me in a good way. It was like, yeah,
Oh,
awkward. Yeah, and I think, Colin was lying about his little escapades overseas when he was trying to be Magellan and stuff. Like, I'm just not believing this, experience, and I know what I like, and I'm the man, and Paris this, and London that. I'm not believing it. I don't know. I'm over them.
you have to be experienced to know how to use those particular fingers and placement of the dress. I'm just saying, that's not something you do if you haven't been out there.
I suppose. But, I guess. I think, changing the subject, the real unsung hero of this first part was Violet Bridgerton. She really knows her kids, and I love that for her. She is
Yeah,
that mother in law that you want to keep around, because
yeah.
I love that she was like, hey guys, I really want you to marry for love. And we see this throughout all the seasons. It's like,
Hmm.
marry for love. If you're not ready, that's cool. And she already peep game that Colin, like Penelope, is like, well, dot, dot, dot. So I love that she meddles, but like in a good way.
Yeah,
I like her
I do
a lot.
too. I think it helps obviously that she had a great love of her life that she was married to, and so she wants the same for her kids. And she just seems like she is really willing to always put her kids' happiness above everything, and wanting them to find their own happiness with someone that they actually love, not just are like settling for.
Mhm.
And I'm excited for her prospect because hey,
That man,
Dowager Viscountess, hello.
he was ready for his second act, and I'm like, I am too. Am I part of the show? Please take me. I'm
Lady
like,
Danbury's brother was definitely a good addition to the show. A good
yeah,
addition.
I wonder what the beef is with them. I don't know if he's like a con artist and she doesn't like it. I don't know if they had like some kind of issues as kids or something.
You
It's
know, I
kind of
don't
weird.
remember if they touched on it in Queen Charlotte. I might have to rewatch it, but I don't remember that. I know that they mentioned and he appeared Queen Charlotte's brother was in the series, but I don't remember Lady Danbury having a brother. So, yeah, I may need to rewatch that. But it was interesting to see Violet, getting her little flirtation on without
Mhm.
whatever flirtation style is back in those days, right? Like
Yeah.
it was cute. I was like rooting for her.
Yeah. Any final thoughts?
Okay, so part 2 is going to be interesting. I'm assuming Colin has to find out she's Lady Whistledown. Side note, we have not read the books, y'all. So if you have read the books, please don't spoil it for everybody. Just we're trying to get this. We're just we're just watching the show, and so we're recapping these things, and these are just thoughts about the show. So
Yeah.
even if you know what's gonna happen in part 2, don't tell us. Anyway, that's it. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So hopefully, I don't know. I hope Colin is not too upset. I don't know if Eloise is gonna forgive her, regardless if she tells him
She
or not.
doesn't seem like it in those previews.
I'm trying to
She's
think. If it were me, I would not forgive her at all. I'll be like, you're dead to me, right? But for the show purpose, I think that they should just be friends. I don't know. Guys, first I'm sour, then I'm sweet. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I have all these thoughts, okay? Do as I say, not as I do.
Wait a minute. You are telling me you would not forgive Penelope?
Me, E. Eldris, would not,
Yes, you me.
because
Really? I
that's
feel
a
like I would.
true betrayal, and you just humiliated me. And now I have to walk around the city with this friend that I don't even like. I have to wear bows and ribbons and stuff. I wanted to be a spinster. I wanted my little radical newspaper boy on the side. I wanted to do things my way. And by you outing me and embarrassing me, I kind of had to change. I have to, like, mingle with the ladies. I have to wear ribbons. I have to conform. And that's not something that she wanted to do.
But Penelope also saved your life because Queen Charlotte was after her. After her.
But
So
she should have just told me instead of taking matters into her own hands. But for the show, I want them to be friends because I can't take this animosity. I can't take it. Guys, that concludes today's video. Let us know what you thought of part 1 of the season 3 of the Bridgerton series. Did you like it? Do you agree with me that there was just too much damn things going on? Do you agree with D that it was a slow burn? Eventually, we were supposed to see it this way. What do we think about Violet's love story, possible love story? What do we think about Francesca's possible future mate? Are we as hurt as you guys are about the Eloise Penelope situation? Is Colin believable as a stud? Let us know in the comments. But if you haven't already done so, please subscribe, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos. Also, please share our video. We're trying to grow our community so your friends can be our friends and we can all be friends. We also have social media, which Zee will tell you about.
We are on TikTok and Instagram at Hear Me Out DNE. So make sure you guys like, follow, share, and comment. You can also listen to the videos in podcast format via YouTube Music and Spotify.
All right, guys, we'll see you next time. Peace.
Bye.